Lucas, who is an undercover detective, joins Vin's crew to catch him of his crimes, but later finds comfort with him after realizing his love for Vin's sister and love for cars. You'll have to stick around to the end to see how the whole story unfolds. Hello and welcome to Comedy Recap. Today we will give you a recap of the film Super Fast. Spoilers ahead, obviously. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. The movie starts with a race about to start, when an undercover cop, Lucas White, arrives and asks around about Vin Sorrento. He finds Vin surrounded by a bunch of people preparing for the race. Vin asks the group who wanted to race him where the winner wins all. Some stepped up for the challenge, and later Lucas also stepped up. Vin checked out his car's specifications and later allowed him to race after getting approval from his little sister. The race was about to start and the four challengers prepared to race. The lady later gave them the signal and the cars launched off except for Lucas's car, which was out of fuel. He then called in a guy who refilled his car's tank while Vin was racing through with the others. Lucas' car was ready and he drove off. Everyone started to use their special NOS and drove faster. Lucas also used his NOS and drove through the rest with insane speed. His car then seized up due to overheating and stopped right before the finishing line. The rest crossed the finishing line, and Vin demanded payment from the losers. He demanded a stock car from Lucas, as promised, until the police arrived at the scene. The cops then arrested Lucas and took him away in their car. The cop then uncuffs Lucas and tells him to not sway from the plan and to penetrate even deeper by joining Vin's crew. He then tells him to hit him and then hits him back for the bruises to appear. This would make everyone think that Lucas had beaten the cop and escaped. The next day, Lucas went to meet Vin in his shop, with his broken car as a reward for winning. Vin's friend Curtis was suspicious of Lucas and started to inspect him for being an undercover cop. Vin stopped him and told him that he couldn't be one since he was arrested last night right in front of him. Lucas then set up a date with his sister Jordana and picked her up at 7. They traveled and initially had an awkward first kiss. Later, they decided to couple with each other while in a moving car. The next day, Lucas went to meet Vin, who decided to take him to a special meeting that he was about to go to. They arrived at a meeting where a Spanish gangster demanded only one driver from their group for the job. Vin and the rest started to dance in complete synchronization and Lucas followed them. He and Vin had only survived to the end while the gangster eliminated the rest one by one by shooting them. The gangster lord saw both of them as capable of the job and then introduced them to his sports car. He wanted them to transport the car to a specific location. They sat in it and then left. They arrived at a warehouse to trade the car for the money, but got double-crossed by the party. Shots started to fire from both sides, and some guys got killed while the rest fled. The cop that arrested Lucas earlier arrived from a door behind Lucas when Lucas fired and killed him right on the spot. Vin congratulated him on killing the first cop, and then they fled. Sometime later, cops came to the scene to investigate, and among them was a detective named Johnson. He started investigating and later got suggested about looking at the footage that the security camera had caught. They watched it and found Lucas killing the cop. They tried to trace his face but didn't find any records. A female detective then suggested scanning the dead cop's face and found Lucas's fingerprints on it.
What?
Mafia Lord Carlos now meets the last survivor from the group that double-crossed Vin and Lucas. The man tells him about what had happened and later gets killed by Carlos. We now see Lucas in Vin's garage, and later he realizes that his footage of killing the cop was now being broadcast all over the news. All of them felt that they needed to flee from the country but didn't have the money. They then investigated Carlos' car and found the location of $100 million stashed hidden. They then initiated making the heist. Vin then started to plan out the heist where he recruited 3 more members, a rapper, an Asian guy, and a model. They then were about to leave when Jordana came and told Lucas that she was pregnant. Vin and the rest of his group went out to execute their plan. They saw a man walking with a bag of money and started to beat him up. They then later realized that they raided the wrong place and had beaten up a pastor outside a church. Carlos got alerted about the raid and got precautious. The cops later came to the scene and saw the footage again, only to catch Vin this time, participating as well in the crime. Vin is now seen planning the second raid at a Mexican restaurant and tells his group that Carlos keeps a giant vault at the backside of the restaurant that is guarded by naked guards and the cash is counted by naked girls. He then assigns Jordana and Michelle to sneak into the naked girls and create a distraction by throwing up the money and then entering the safe by using Carlos's DNA. He then further explained that the cool Asian guy and the model will fight Carlos during his jog and then collect his DNA. He then explained that the wrapper will be kept in a box and parceled to the outside of the vault, while Curtis would distract the guards outside the vault. He says that then he and Lucas will arrive and finally take down the guards. Vin, then after not getting a positive reaction from his group about the plan, tells them about the second plan, which was to go in, blow up the vault, and bust out. Everyone loved the second plan and agreed to act accordingly. Vin then gifted Lucas by fixing up his old car. He then brought him to another room and showed him his father's old car. The cops and Detective Johnson later arrived at their garage to catch them, but failed as no one was there. They then investigated the place and found their plans for making the heist. Vin and the group were at the restaurant about to raid the vault when Carlos's guards popped out of the dumpsters and started shooting. Curtis jumped in front of Vin and saved his life but got killed. Vin and Lucas had attached the chains with their car to the restaurant and started to drive their cars. Instead of the vault, they got the whole restaurant sliding and then drove it away. Carlos started to chase them after finding out about the news, and later Detective Johnson also joined after looking at the moving vault. All of them were driving at fast speeds and shooting at each other. A few of the cop cars crashed and exploded after getting shot at. Jordana's car got shot and the fuel tank got empty when later Michelle suggests that she gets arrested by the cop so that she could escape. Now Carlos is chasing after Vin and Lucas, dragging his restaurant away. Vin checked on his map service in his car and found out that they had missed the turn they needed to make. He then told Lucas to make a hard left on the count of 3. After the count, they went in different directions, which snapped the chains attached to the cars, and the restaurant with the vault was left in the middle. Detective Johnson caught Carlos and let him flee after he gave him a shaving kit. Johnson then saw Vin and his group sneaking out money from the vault. He then told everyone about Lucas's truth about being a cop. Lucas fooled him and cuffed him to the car and stated that he was with them now and not a detective anymore. All of them then left while Johnson was cuffed to the car. They are now sitting in their cars about to race until Carlos shows up in front of their cars and threatens to shoot them. Out of nowhere, Michelle, who was making out with the female cop in her car, crashes into Carlos. Vin and Lucas then race each other while Jordana sat with Lucas in his car. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.